Good morning, you guys. My name is Megan. I just had to do a quick response to a couple of comments that I've received on one of my videos that I did maybe a month or so ago. It is how much do foster parents really get paid? And so I did that from my personal experience being a kinship care parent, which is very similar to being a foster parent. And so I was quite upfront and transparent, gave you all of the reimbursements, the compensation that we received from our local Children's Aid Society, being in Southern Ontario in Canada. And so that was very specific to our area, our location, our country, our situation. But you know, there's been a couple of comments which I have deleted because I prefer to keep the comment section of my blog and vlog very as positive and as with as little negativity and conflict as possible. I'm all for critiquing and you know, constructive conversation, but name calling and pointing fingers doesn't fly with me. Anyway, so I've deleted them, so you can't read them. I've read the comments, and basically what it was a parent in the States, so very different setup, very different situation, whose children had been taken away. And it was great. She left a link to an article that had been published about the entire situation, and I did read through that article. And what I found was that it was very one-sided. It never actually stated what the reason for the children being apprehended were. And basically, in a nutshell, 5 children had been apprehended, and the parental rights had been terminated, and most, I think, of the children, maybe not all, of the children had been adopted at the time that the article was written. And so the article never gave the reason for the children being apprehended. And immediately, that's when my you know, antennae kind of go up, my sensors go up, because we hear a lot of stories bashing child protective services and children's aid societies, and even just anecdotal stories and things like that. And you know, all of those stories are very personal, and all of those stories are very different and unique. And every story, you know, has different elements to it, and different, you know, ways that the CPS or the CAS was involved in the situation. And here's the thing, though. CAS, and I would assume that CPS has very similar guidelines and regulations. The social workers aren't allowed to tell you anything. They protect the privacy of the parents involved. And they can't share with you the reasons why children were apprehended. They can't share with you the reasons why you know, they've decided to take the course of action that they have, whether it's apprehending children or just providing, you know, intervention kind of you know, parenting classes or whatever it is that they've suggested for this situation. So they're not allowed to actually tell you any of that. And as a kinship care parent, there are a lot of things that I'm not allowed to share. I can't post certain things on social media. I can't talk about certain aspects of the care that we provided, of the situation that led up to that care. And so, like, as in, we've kind of signed away our right to share those things. So we could be, you know, held responsible, whether it's legally or otherwise, if we did share certain things. So that's the thing. We've only ever really got one person's side of the story when we're talking about situations where foster care has come into play or adoption has come into play. And with this mom's comments, her situation sounded horrible, sounded terrible. It's it really, you know, the article made it sound like officials just swooped in and took the children without cause. And but the thing is, they're not actually allowed to do that, and they have to prove to a judge that they have done, they've followed the right steps. You know, like, they're not given free rein. They do need to make sure that they're covering their bases. And the only way that the media is going to find that out, those reasons out, is if it's somehow published as part of a court order, and that information is released to the news media, or if someone is willing to be, someone who is not a social worker or, who works for the CPS or the CAS is willing to share that information. And that quite often doesn't happen. So what we end up with is one side of the story, and we don't know all of the other information, all of the other things that have happened around that situation. So I did read a situation about a single mom who had 3 kids at home. 2 were adult age or very much older teenagers. And mom went out one night to work or to help somebody else, and left the teenagers in charge. And while they were sleeping, a 3-year-old, the only other child in the house, got out and was out and about in the neighborhood with their dog, which happened to be a pit bull. The police were called, showed up at her door, and apprehended the child immediately. So from looking at that situation from the outside, you would say, oh my goodness, yeah, something happened that shouldn't have happened, but we all make mistakes. We're all human. There's no way we can be perfect. Who hasn't lost track of their child for, 30 seconds? As long as everything else is lining up the way it should, then there's no reason why the police should have stepped in and apprehended the children along with the CPS immediately. But if you were to go into that woman's history, what you would have found out is that she had 3 other children for whom care was terminated because she had failed to protect them from the abuse of a boyfriend. The boyfriend was convicted and was in jail, or had served his time in jail, and I don't know if he was out, if she was involved with him or whatever, but it had been proven that she was unable to care for her children in the past. And so it only took one strike for them to say, okay, this next child, we don't want to put this child in harm's way, so we're going to make sure that he's in a safe location. And that backstory, the woman probably would not have shared that with people who didn't already know the backstory, but it goes to show that if there is a backstory, if there is a history, the authorities can step in and say, okay, we're going to stop this in its tracks. We're going to make sure this doesn't happen again. Because otherwise, they may be putting that child in a place of potential abuse. And what's worse, right? Having a child that is quite likely to be abused or hurt or whatever else, and not doing anything, or letting that child go through the abuse and eventually having it come out that, oh yeah, this child should have been protected. I think we would be upset in that case too, and probably even more so, knowing that the authorities had the knowledge to do something and they didn't. So anyway, with the comments that I'm receiving, and with anything else that you see in the news media, I would just encourage, especially when it comes to foster care and adoption and reasons why children have been taken into care, there's always multiple sides to every story.